Alright guys, what's up? Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this kind of snowy environment in Unity. So for this, you're going to need the snow particle system that I made in my last video. I'll have a card in the top right that you can click on to go get a link to that. But assuming that you already have that created, I'm going to show you how to make this. So I'm going to delete all the things I have set up. Perfect. Okay. So the first step we're going to do is we're going to set up the actual post-processing effect that we're going to have in the snowy environment. So I have this post-processing profile here. Oh, I shouldn't do that. Snowy profile. All right, so again, to create this, I also have a video on just basic post-processing things. I'll also put that card in the top right if you're confused on what's happening here. But assuming you know what you're doing, you're going to go into your project, you're going to right click, create, and then you're going to create a post-processing profile. Okay, this won't be here by default. You need to go watch my other video to figure out how to bring that back. All right. So once you make that profile, this is how you're going to want to make it. All right. We're going to want to make sure the mode is in low definition range. Okay. And then down here, under the lift, gamma, and gain, we're going to just put it towards blue a little bit. So this is kind of, what's it called? This is kind of similar to what we were doing with the water. Okay. In addition to that, we're also going to have a vignette around the side of the screen. Okay. So this is going to kind of give it the cold sort of feeling that you get in some games where you go into like a snowy area. It'll be similar to like a damage effect when the outside of the screen gets red, but now it'll be blue. All right. So just like in the other tutorials, we're going to have to create a game object to be the actual volume. So I'll go ahead and create a game object, an empty one. I'll set the Y up higher. Bring that up here. Perfect. And then we're going to add a collider. Okay. We'll expand it a little bit just so that I can see it from the top view. And then we're going to go into top view, go into isometric, and you go into isometric just by clicking this little white box right here. Now we're going to make that roughly the size of our snowy area. We don't need it to be exact because we're going to have a little bit of a blend distance between this and the other areas, but just enough so that it kind of covers most of it. Yeah, that's good. I'm also going to rename this to snowy environment. And then make sure that it is a trigger, okay? Also, you're going to have to set the layer to whatever you're keeping your post-processing layer to. Mine's called volumes. And then you're going to add a component, and it's going to be the post-processing volume. There, you make sure it's not global, and then we're going to make a blend distance of 10, okay? You can play with these values, and you'll see kind of the area that it affects on screen here. Make sure that you select your snowy profile in the actual profile, and then all the things should appear here. So now let's check out how that's working. So if I'm back here and I walk towards here, oh, I didn't set up the height. That's the issue. So I'm also going to want to set up the height of the collider, obviously, to make sure that it's actually hitting me. And now it should work. There you go. So as you walk in, it gets snowy, and then as you start to kind of leave, it blends out. Now my placement isn't perfect, but you can always tweak that. And then here you can see it gets nice and blue. There's a bit of a slight vignette on the outside. So again, these are the post-processing effects. You can pause and kind of recreate these. All right. And now it's time to add the actual snow. All right. So for the snow, we're going to just use, obviously, the snow that we made in the last video. So over here, I have the effect, and we're going to drag and drop that on top of the FPS controller. All right, because we're going to want it to follow the character rather than just having a massive sort of area of effect. So we can go ahead and I actually need to change a couple of the values real quick, just because I tweaked some of them for the tutorial that I didn't tweak here. There you go. And now you can already see there's some nice snow and a bit of an effect. All right. Make sure that the snow isn't actually too high. I'm only going to have it at 1 above me, because if it's at 9, the snow is never actually going to get to the ground or even in your face as you're running. All right. I would also increase the size of the shape up to 40 by 40. Okay, but now the issue that we're going to have if we do this, it looks great when we're inside the actual snowy biome. All right, it's nice, there's snow, we have the vignette, but once we walk out, the snow is still there, right? And that doesn't really make any sense. Like, you can go swimming, you can go onto like a volcano and it's still going to be there. So we need to figure out a way to hide the snow when we're not in the actual environment, right? So by default, we're going to disable the snow, actually. Now, what we're going to do here is in the FPS controller, or whatever your game object is for the player, we're going to add a script, all right? We're going to call it environment, or we'll call it weather effects. Weather effects. There you go. Create and add that, and then we're going to open it up in a second. There it is. Okay. So now, in here, we're going to have a public string called weather. And this string is going to determine what sort of weather effects are happening. We're going to check the string, and then depending on what the string is containing, we'll enable or disable certain weather effects. So this makes it more modular than just saying like 1 for snow, 1 for, or I guess less modular. It makes it more overarching, yeah, for all different kinds of weather effects rather than just snow and then a separate one for kind of like a super sunny area, right? So we're going to have a public string called weather, and then down here in update, we're going to say if weather equals snowy, we'll say we have to have another serialized game object here, and it's going to be game object, actually we can, yeah, game object snow particles, right? Down here, when we say if weather equals snowy, we don't actually have to do that. We can just say snow particles dot set active, and then in here we'll say weather equals snowy. All right, so this will return true if the weather is snowy, and it'll return false if the weather is not snowy. Okay, but so now the issue that we're going to have is we don't have any way of changing the weather string, right? So now what we're going to do is on our snowy environment, we're actually going to add a snowy environment script. Environment. There you go. And now in here, we're going to check for a trigger entry, and then if there is a trigger entry, we're going to set it to snow with a string. If there's an exit, then we're going to set it to just nothing, like to null, all right? So we're going to open that up. So then in here, we're going to say on trigger enter if other dot game object get component weather effects is not equal to null. So this is making sure that the player is actually walking in, because if there's an enemy or some kind of like, I don't know, like a boulder that rolls in, you don't want this script to be trying to access the weather effects of that object if it doesn't exist, and it'll shoot out an error if it does do that. So this just kind of cleans it up. And then we'll say other.gameObject.getComponent weather effects dot weather equals snowy. All right, and then sorry, not double equals, just one equals. All right, and then all we have to do to deactivate it, not disactivate, on trigger exit, we'll say the same thing. If weather effects is not equal to null, other.gameObject.weatherEffects.weather equals just a space, and that's it. So now everything should be set up. All we have to do in FPS controller is actually drag and drop in the snow. And then we'll see that while we're outside, there's no snow. Good. And then as we walk into the blend, the snow will start. Perfect. And then as we walk out, the snow disappears. Beautiful. Awesome. Now there's a little bit of, what's it called? A little bit of lag. So now what we can do to prevent that, hopefully, is here, when we say snow particles, that's set active. All right, sorry about that. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to say if weather equals snowy, then in here we're going to say dot play. So we're going to play the particle system. And then we're going to say else snow particles dot get component particle system dot stop. And we're also going to duplicate this. And we're going to say restart. Oh no, we can't. Okay, just stop. Come on. And then you need your double brackets on the outside of that. Okay, so now if we play and we walk in here, it's not enabled. All right, so make sure that it's enabled because it's not going to be getting enabled automatically now. And then as you walk out, it stops. As you walk in, it'll play again. As you walk out, no more snow, beautiful. As you walk back in, you'll start seeing some of the snow from before, and then it'll all start. All right, you're getting a little bit of a lag spike. If you do, you can turn down the emissions a bit and just increase the size of the snow, and it'll give a similar effect. Or just decrease the max particles, right? Awesome. So, I hope that this was helpful. If there are any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. If it was helpful, also feel free to leave a like, subscribe, whatever you want. I'm going to keep on posting tutorials, so feel free to check back in if you need anything else, all right? I hope you'll have a great day, and cheers.